Welcome everyone to the Sunday Speedrunner Spotlight. Kind of streaming these in advance still, so happy Friday to those here live. Um, so episode 16 already. Pretty crazy. Today we have the Retro Runner. How's it going?
What's up? What's up, GTAs? Thanks for having me.
No problem. Want to talk about some Ninja Gaiden speedrunning? Should be fun. Some other
Sure.
stuff too. Yeah, sure.
Whatever you want to talk about.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Oh, we'll get into it. Well, we'll start with the what got you started with speedrunning in general.
All right. Yeah, that's a pretty common one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Actually, what got me started in speedrunning or even just being aware of it, it actually had nothing to do with Ninja Gaiden or even actually the NES. It was actually Mega Man X. A buddy of mine and myself, we were just hanging out kind of bored, passing the controller back and forth, playing Mega Man X. And he had like emailed me this link of a speed run, and he was like, "Did you watch that speed run thing I sent you?" And I was like, "Nah, I'm not." And also like, kind of like having the attitude of like, "Nah," and I don't care, and I don't want to watch it. And he like made me watch it. It was like, I don't know, it was the current Mega Man X 100% world record at the time, which I think was still Caleb Hart. That's how long ago this was.
Mm.
Um, and so we were watching this thing, and I'm like expecting. I don't know what I'm expecting, but I'm like, how good could you possibly be at one of these games? Like, I've been playing these games forever. What am I going to see? And so not only did what I saw impress me, it like knocked me off my socks. Like, I was blown away. A little bit more than impressed or blown away. It's kind of like, I don't know, when you read a book or see a movie, that changes the way that you think about things or perceive things. It was like that. It was like really impactful. I was like, wow, that is cool. I didn't know that you could be that good at a video game, and a little voice in my brain said I would like to try that. So that's kind of how it started. Me and my friend watching these speed runs of Caleb Hart's or his GDQ runs and stuff, and eventually we got it in our heads that like we would both take a week of time to learn as much as we could about it and about that run, Mega Man X 100%, and then we'd race each other. So admittedly, I had probably had a little bit more time on my hands than he did. But I was hooked ever since. Really, I had to like know all the things, and yeah, that's really how it began. There are some other tangents uh, that would link me to Ninja Gaiden and stuff, but really, it was Mega Man X that grabbed my attention first.
When was this? Do you know?
Uh, 2016 or 2017, I think, something like that. Somewhere along those lines.
That's where I see a lot of
Some
people
whence.
start. I mean, I started in 2017.
Yeah,
That's
I
like
wonder
the
what that is.
year.
I wonder if that's like a GDQ kind of reach thing, like a significant increase in GDQ reach
Yeah,
thing might
maybe.
have something to do with that.
That mine was summoning salt, so I know that's a lot. But yeah, it seems like GDQ is another one from that era. I wonder what happened then that made it blow up to people, stand out.
Yeah, yeah, that is true. And then the Ninja Gaiden thing had less to do with speed running and more to do with like um I just wanted to beat it, like as a grown adult. I'd never beaten it before. And so, like, again, me and a different friend, another friend, we were like, all right, this weekend, we're going to beat Ninja Gaiden. That's what we're going to do this weekend. So, like, um, that's what we did. We would like pass off the controller when frustration and fatigue set in, and it took us like a couple of days, about 3 hours each of a couple of days. And when we finally did the thing, I was like, oh man, that was luck, because we beat it by luck. Um, and I'm aware of speedrunning very much so at this point. So I was like, there's got to be easier ways to do these things. And we look up what the world record looks like, and I mean, that was the really deep sinkhole that I fell into. I was like, oh, here's Arcus. Totally not what I was expecting. This, demure cowboy, basically.
Yep.
And yeah, had to learn everything. And I got sucked in for like 5 years into this game, almost nonstop. Recently, I've been playing less of this game. I still play it, but I don't like nonstop play. I play other things.
Five
Yeah,
years. Wow. That's a dedicated grind. Have you've done like
I guess I don't know if it's like dedication, or you probably can attest to this when you're like grinding down a game. You hit these milestones, and you just like have these reasons to like keep on grinding it. Like
mm-hmm.
my first big goal was like a top 20 time. I was like super proud of it. I got like a 12:0x or something at that time. That was a top 20 time. That shows you how long ago that is. Now, if you want top 20, you need like better than a sub 12, which is crazy. Um, but then I was like, oh well, a handful more seconds, I get a sub 12. Oh, like at that time, a couple more seconds, I get a top 10 time. Like, oh, a few more seconds, like I'm in contention for podium. That's it. It kept on like pulling me in. Like I call it chasing the speed run dragon. You never catch it. You try,
No.
but you never catch it. You just keep trying though.
Yeah, I definitely understand that feeling for like everything I've ever done. You're just never satisfied. There's always
Yeah, yeah,
something there. It's like, well, I can do this better. It's like,
yeah,
well,
yeah.
now I'm here
Absolutely.
for 5 years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Still doing it.
Mm-hmm. So, did you do anything else like during that main grind or?
Yeah, but like very little. Like
Mm-hmm.
there was a period of time that it would take Fridays to like grind sort of deeper cuts during October, which is also my birthday month, and I just kind of always loved Halloween anyway. I kind of just put all the Ninja Gaiden stuff to the side, and I'll play. I'll run Halloweensies games, um, like Monster Party, which I don't know if you've heard of, but it's a crazy, bizarre game. It's like maybe one of the most fever dream inducing titles on the NES, but it's like also loaded with charm. And I loved it as a kid. So I run that one. Super Ghouls and Ghosts, which I really went hard in the beginning of this year. I wasn't playing Ninja Gaiden at all. I was just grinding Super Ghouls and Ghosts. Um, but aside from Ninja Gaiden, I put a lot of time into Mega Man X. 100%. I put a ton of time into it actually. Um, and I was able to get like a top 20 time for 100% at that time. I don't know what it is anymore. It's also a little convoluted because there's some discrepancies between the SRC leaderboards and what you should follow for accuracy on any Mega Man game, which is megamanleaderboards.net. I don't know where it still stands, but that was like the first game that was like hardcore grinding.
Yeah, so that was like
Like these
2016.
days, we've been like messing with Bucky O'Hare. I
Mm,
like that game a lot for the NES. I've been taking one day a week to not only not play Ninja Gaiden, but not even speedrun or play a retro game. We've been messing with Hollow Knight, different like challenge stuff, like
mm,
hit list stuff, or some of the harder things to do in the game.
yeah. All right, so plenty of other stuff. So Mega Man 100% is what started it in like 2016 then,
Yeah,
2017,
for
whatever that
sure,
was.
for
And
sure.
then Ninja Gaiden followed suit shortly after, and that was the big deal, it seemed.
Yeah, yeah.
So what was that progression like over those many years? Or
Um, well, that's a really open-ended
yeah, I
question.
know, but
But
there's
yeah,
got to be a
I could.
lot to be there, right?
Yeah, I could speak on it. In the beginning, it was like I basically my conception of what speedrunning was, and not only was what speedrunning was, but just streaming was like caveman. It was
Yeah.
like Neanderthal, very, very primitive. I didn't even have any kind of direct capture. I didn't have a way really to like utilize save states. So I would I had this NES Classic, and
Hmm.
I would like, you know, make copies of the ROMs and like have 4 save states at a time. But then I would practice, you know, then I would play the run on hardware.
Hmm.
So, you know, like I had no concept of like how the input delay would change visual cues and stuff, or even really visual cues, what those were, how to use them. And I used to use, I didn't even like have a real stream. I would like use my phone, you know,
Hmm.
like I point my phone at the screen and like balance it on books and like have my laptop like display a timer in the corner. That's what I used to do.
Perfect way to
Um,
stream, if you ask me.
it was really ghetto, really ghetto. But it caught the attention of this dude. At the time, his handle was Vega4993, and he's since rebranded to VGA. But it caught the attention of him. He was a speedrunner, and he was like, "Man, like I'm watching the stuff that you're doing, and you're just a little bit too good for what it is that you're doing, how you're representing it." So he was kind enough to send me some like some stuff, you know, some equipment that he wasn't using. I think it was a dazzle capture. This is how long ago this is. Familiar with it? Dazzle capture, and it was so old that the audio driver on it was like out of date, like, and you couldn't update it. So now I have direct capture, but I don't have direct audio capture. So I just
Hmm.
like blast the TV to like have it come through the mic. Um, and that was a big deal. You know, that was a big step up. And also, I finally like acquired like I would always drive around, you know, and see these CRT TVs on the side of the road and have half mind to pick one of them up one day. And one day I saw one and I was like, I'm not going to pass this up. I'm picking this thing up now. It worked perfectly. And I got, you know, an N8 EverDrive flash card. So once I had those two pieces of the puzzle, that's when I was really able to like apply myself and like get actually much better at the game and actually just kind of learn what speedrunning is, you know, like developing these accurate visual cues. That's, in my opinion, I don't know about you, but you probably agree, that's your bread and butter. If you're a speedrunner, you need a bunch of very reliable and precise visual cues. I mean, maybe some audio cues as well, but for me, it's visual cues. That's how you can be consistent, you know, and not just like by feel. Although I guess a lot of runners do many things very well by feel, but for me, I just really started to hone in on this idea of developing reliable visual cues. That was huge for me.
Hmm. I've always
Um,
thought the big three is visual cues, audio cues, and muscle memory. That's what you need for
muscle memory
consistency.
too, yeah,
Yeah. And
for sure.
it's funny that story you had. I actually had a very similar one. I played on emulator for the first year of speedrunning, and I went to SGDQ for the first time. And Cosmic said, you know, Cosmic, he was like, "You can't play on this." Like he tested it out. He's like, "The input lag's too bad." He gave me his old Dazzle that he wasn't using anymore,
Oh,
so I
nice.
switched to console. Yeah, Dazzles are what brings you onto it, I guess. I
I
probably still
guess
have it
they're
somewhere.
really old.
Oh yeah, they
I think that was
suck.
for like converting, you know, your home videos to digital. Like that's one of the first
Hmm.
devices that let you do that. But you know, you can use it to stream also, I guess.
It looks like shit, but it works.
Yes, it does. I
And that's all that
think I remember
matters.
the story. He like told you, it was like, all right, get in the practice room now, right? Because your cues are all gonna be messed up.
Hmm. That's how it goes. Yeah.
It took me a little bit to adjust to like the difference between like no virtually no input lag, but like once you do, it's just easier to do everything,
Hmm.
like because you don't have to like you're not even realizing it with input delay, but every cue that you make or muscle memory that you have is like it's not really when it's going on, it's in anticipation of when it's about to happen, so it
Hmm.
makes everything a lot harder.
Oh yeah, I remember. Like I think my old laptop when I played an emulator had like almost 10 frames of input lag or something. It was bad.
Oh my god.
Don't ask me how I did any of the stuff I did back then. I don't know.
I
But I
mean,
remember playing on console for the like first time for real at that GDQ. I was like I suddenly like became a god at the game. I was like, "Oh, this was like a handicap."
it's like so much easier.
Yeah, it's
Although there are like sick runners who play on
yeah.
emulator, so
Well,
you
nowadays
know.
like it's like frame perfect nearly because if you have good enough computers and everything. I was playing on some shitty laptop I used for college.
Right,
Like
right.
that was my issue, but it's a lot better for people that actually care to play it that way. But yeah, for me it was like visual cues just and audio cues just didn't exist really because of how bad the input lag was. So once I was on consoles, like
Right, right.
it
My
just all made
brain,
sense
same,
suddenly.
same, same. My brain just it didn't operate on that level. Visual cue, audio cue. I'm not using.
Hmm.
Well, what do you mean? You get here and then you jump there,
Hmm.
but like I never even thought to question like, okay, but where is there? And then
Hmm.
you start thinking, you start training your brain to think of playing them in terms of pixels and frames because that's what these games are.
Hmm.
And now you can get really precise and figure out why something works, why you're unable to do something, or why something's difficult, and how to make it easier uh, or or viable. So when I got that EverDrive, that's when I really started to figure out what this speedrunning thing was, and like we were able to get like a sub 12 in this game, which at that it still is really hard and it still is a big deal, but at that time it was like if you had a sub 12 time, you were like probably pretty close to a top 10 runner, you know. And then like I was saying, like there every increment was milestone was only like a couple of seconds away. Top five. If I shave 2 seconds, I'm top five. If I
Hmm.
shave another second, I'm like podium. You know, until we got to like I originally had no no aspirations for any kind of world record or even to go as far as I was going. I just wanted at the time. Becco had second place, and I just wanted to beat him out because Arcus was so much further ahead than everybody else. He had an 11:38, and Becco had an 11:44. You know, like
Hmm.
the closest run to Arcus is like 6 seconds away. So I was like, obviously, I'm never going to do that. But I think maybe if I get lucky and play really well, could maybe edge out an 11:43 and get that silver. And we ended up getting an 11:40. So
Wow.
um, that really kind of changed perception. I still was like, I'm never getting record in this game, nor do I have delusions about that. But I, as a joke, I
Mm.
put world record attempts. Um, and you know how it goes, man. We started getting closer and closer, and it was, um, I figured it out logically, like if we do this, this, and this, which are all very realistic things that have, and we can contain margins of error in it as well, that's record. And it happened.
Hmm.
It
Yeah.
happened, and it kept happening.
It kept happening. So what was the first one? It was 11:37, right?
Yeah, the first, I forget what exactly what it is. I think it was a
Hmm.
lower 11:37, 11:37 point, or maybe it was 8 or higher. I don't know.
Hmm.
It was the first 11:37, um, and it like it didn't even look like a record. It had a lot of like weird errors in it. Um, so I wasn't like content with that really at first. Um, like at all, and I would show it to people and like, yeah, this is a world record. Like if I didn't have a timer in my face, I might not know it. But we were able. A lot of people ask me like, so what's the big tech that like catapulted this game to be so much faster? And there really isn't. It's just very, very small things, maybe that are new, but we're talking like point 0.2, point 0.3, you know, additions at a time, very, very small saves. Really, it's just better execution and gambling on strats that people used to think were like not worth it, because there's this thing called eggs Benny. Out of people ask me about this. It's a boost in the later part of the game, and it has like 3 levels of RNG to it, 3 factors of RNG that need to cooperate for it to be successful.
Hmm.
Which, it sounds like a huge gamble, especially if you're on a world record pace, but I just started throwing them every time. And I found that more often than not, those factors are there. Sometimes they're not, and sometimes you could just die from it, like not through no fault of your own. But I feel like that's maybe something I brought to the table that was not really a thing. Like Arcus's 1138 that stood for years, didn't have it. He wasn't going for it. That's something that I maybe brought to the table. And maybe the other thing is I got really good at this thing called the plate kill, which is it's a quick kill on the penultimate boss of the game, Jakio, which it is really difficult, but people used to think like even if you're like dead on, it's like a 1 in a million chance, like you'll never get it with any consistency. You can never get it every time. And I still mess it up, but I brought like this like idea of consistency to that kill, which helped me out like a lot.
Yep. Yeah, the stuck in a plate kill on the boss. I remember.
Yeah,
It's
I'm sure you're familiar, especially if you watch the Summoning Salt
yeah,
doc. Or
of course. Yeah, well, of course, I know I'm from Mario 1, but yeah, I did see the video and I was like, "Oh, hey, he found something in here. That's cool." And it's like,
yeah, he's just got a brain for that stuff. Like some speedrunners are like really good at execution, and some speedrunners are they just have like this scientific mind and creative too. Like question whether or not the current meta is the best way or fastest way to do things. And he came up with not just that quick kill, like plenty of other quick kills in this game. He's come up with tech in other games too. He's just got like a really good brain for that sort of thing.
eh, he was the first to get one of the hardest frame rules in Mario 1. I remember when that was a big deal.
I wonder
Uh,
what I haven't seen him in forever. I miss that
yeah,
guy. What he's doing.
uh, he's been around here and there. It has been a while now, but yeah, I don't think
Yeah,
he's like gone or anything. Just temporary hiatus, I guess.
yeah, that's how it goes. People come and go on this platform. It's kind of weird, right?
Oh yeah, I've seen it a lot. It's weird that
You get used
someone
to like seeing people every day or talking to them every day, and they'll just like disappear for months, and they'll just come back.
months, years, and then
Right?
yeah,
Yeah.
they come back like nothing happened, and then it's just
Right.
normal
Right.
again. It's almost like, oh yeah, you were gone for like 2 years. Forgot about that.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
and then you always have to be like, oh yeah, here's everything that's happened, and it's like, oh, that's a lot.
Yeah. Things have
Definitely,
transpired in my
yeah,
absence.
yeah. It's why you can't leave for very long. You'll be in a completely new world when you come back because of how
And it won't be
quickly things happen.
it won't be the same. It'll be an anachronism.
Yeah, it's like, oh, this is completely different from what I remember. Yeah, it's been 1 year. That's how it goes. Yeah, so how many records did you get after?
Including the first one, I think it's 6. I think
Mm,
it's 6. Yeah. Um, the directly the next one, the next record after the 1137, was really small. I think it was like just over a tenth of a second faster. Um, but it was significant or worth talking about because I I had COVID,
hmm.
and I missed many days of streaming, and that was like also like the very beginning of me doing this like full time. So
Hmm.
like this is how I survive. This is very very silly and strange to say,
Yeah.
but I'd missed like 5 days. So like the day where I felt even slightly well enough to just like prop myself up on camera and hit the start streaming button, I did. And yeah, we got like a tenth of a second record, and I couldn't even react to it. I just didn't have the energy. Like it was almost a non-reaction. It's really weird. But people were saying it's my Michael Jordan like have a fever, play the best game of your life
Hmm.
analogy or something. Kind
Yep.
of kind of funny. And then we kept on chipping away. You know, we kept on finding ways to bring the time lower and lower, just by like I said, just playing well. You know, these um, nailing a majority of the quick climbs on ladders, not taking any knockbacks, trying to go for all the optimal strats, even the ones that seem like gambles. And we kept on knocking it down. 36, got a couple 36s, 35, and then like a really low 34 where it is now. Which
Yeah.
even that run has a knockback in it. So
Hmm.
there's quite a bit of time on the table, like still.
How much?
Uh, 33 is like super realistic. 32 is also really viable. Probably could come away with a 31. Me myself, a high 1130 would be capped for me.
Hmm.
That's if I get those play the game of my life and don't take any knockbacks and get all of the things. Um, there is a way that a runner could, you know, post a sub 1130, but it would involve strats that no one's gotten in runs before. People have gotten them like in practice, sometimes just like once, you know, in practice. But without those things, that's not going to happen. And two of those strats involve just like a mash that would be unhealthy for me to try to even cultivate. So I'm not interested in like injuring myself over it. It's not worth it. But yeah, I think a 32, 31 would be I'd be out for good. I wouldn't be trying to
Yeah.
cut that down anymore. That'd be really tough to cut down.
Yeah. Although I do recall you saying that your current record was your retirement run, so clearly that didn't work
Yeah,
out.
yeah. I don't, it's kind of weird how I got back into Gaiden this year. I had no intention of it really. Really, what inspired it was I locked in this HelloFresh sponsorship,
Mm.
and it was like a campaign of a week to try to get viewers to subscribe, you know, for a cut and get a cut of that.
Hmm.
Um, so to hype it up, you know, I was like, all right, I'll play. Originally, I was just supposed to play one day of Ninja Gaiden 90% and then do like a short low percent grind, which turned into a slightly longer low percent grind because someone put a bounty on the low percent world record,
Hmm.
which we had to try to do, you know, and we were able to do. So that was cool, but very difficult, very frustrating. And then moving from there, what I decided to do was like, okay, I'll tell you what, we'll play Ninja Gaiden 90%, but we're not gonna play like entire streams worth really. We'll spend like half of the day on Ninja Gaiden, half on something that isn't that, which ended up working out really well because we got eyes on things that people probably wouldn't have cared about or bothered to stick around for otherwise, like Bucky O'Hare, like Monster Party, and really whatever else. I do spend one day a week that's just Ninja Gaiden, and then I spend one day a week that isn't Ninja Gaiden or speedrunning or retro at all. So like there's more variety and people get what they want. They get like the one day of like a hardcore, you know, like grind it
Hmm.
out Ninja Gaiden day and get a nice like break from that too, like casual stuff. Or I really wouldn't call what I'm doing Hollow Knight casual because it's also really hard, but it's just not speed running.
Hmm. Yeah. You know, it's cool to have some variety. I'm still stuck on the same things all the time. I wish I could branch out too. So.
It's tough. It's tough.
Oh
I
yeah.
that was a goal. That's a goal that I've had since I don't know, last July or something. Whenever I was like, all right, I'm done with this Ninja Gaideneries, you know.
Hmm.
And I've had some successes with some things and some failures with others. I'm looking at you, Big 20, but
Oh
um,
gosh.
yeah, Big 20 was a mess. It's rough.
Oh yeah. I know
Um,
plenty of that and why I couldn't do that ever.
yeah,
That's
I
too
learned
much
that
of a
it's not for
dedication.
me.
Yeah.
I learned that it's not for me. And also, it seems like a good idea. You pull in like people from a bunch of other communities, but like in reality, maybe no one wants to watch you play Kid Icarus or Darkwing Duck. So like
Unfortunate.
yeah, so like it wasn't like the best thing for metrics. And then
Hmm.
in the end, on insult to injury, I wasn't even able to participate in the event because I had to go down to Florida for some business,
Mm.
um, to look at some stuff. And I was like, well, that's a giant waste of time.
Oh well. Yeah.
I did like Chippendale. I found Chippendale
Mm.
through that, and I really liked that grind. Um,
Oh, I know
so I
some
gave
people
that a
that
full month.
love Chip and Dale.
Yeah, I love that. That's a really, really good speed runner. That's a really good speed run, like for the runner.
Hmm.
It's very it's easy to pick up, but like it's if you want it to be, it's also extremely technical. It's very, we're talking about that run's definitely more optimized than Ninja Gaiden. That's
Mm.
that's for sure. There's way less time on the table with that game than there is with Ninja Gaiden,
Oh,
for
well,
what it's worth.
yeah, I mean, I know Takate really well, so I know kind of what high level Chip and Dale looks like, but I guess I don't know like the potential it has. So, that's cool. I've been pressured into learning it someday, so I guess I'll have to eventually. Just beat it
Yeah, it's
casually
it's
first
dope,
and then
man.
give it a
Dope.
try. I heard it's like
It's
100% execution based, which I love to hear.
yes.
So,
Yeah, so do I. So do I. It can be cool to like develop a skill set in a game. Like sometimes you have to do that Ninja Gaiden, you might get something that's a little weird and you have to improv a little bit. Certainly with Super Ghouls and Ghosts, there's a ton of things that can happen. So you have to be well versed in all the things that can happen, but you have to react. You have to see the pattern and know the strat and react correctly. But sometimes you just have to improvise, and that can be fun and exciting when that works out well. But I'd rather kind of just not. I want my success to be in my own hands,
mm-hmm.
not because of the luck of a draw of a game because I got lucky, or the inverse. If I make a mistake, I want it to be on me and not because I got some, unwinnable pattern, that I have to deal with.
I'm the exact same way. Like RNG pisses me off, so I try to avoid games with
Yeah,
that in it.
yeah,
Or I
yeah.
play Mario
Agreed.
1. So,
Right. I think a lot of people would argue that like, maybe that's just like you're doing a routine.
hmm.
Um, and I guess maybe that's a way to look at it, but I would actually more liken it to like playing a piece of music. You know, uh, it's not really a routine. That's like you have to execute something well that you've practiced over
Hmm.
and over and over again, and you have to play it like from beginning to end without making mistakes. Um, and I'm a musician, so that tickles the same part of my brain.
I've never noticed that connection. I did band throughout school, like, a trumpet kind of thing, not like the cool stuff, but um yeah, and I'm the same way, so I wonder if there's a connection there because I've definitely talked to people that love the RNG. They don't get mad at RNG. They're like, "Oh, well, it's not my fault, therefore I'm not pissed off because nothing I could have done." But I like that control, so yeah, it's interesting to think about it that way.
Yeah, different brains, like
Hmm.
different things. I hate it when like I've done all the right things and the game just like no,
No,
you know.
yeah. Oh, I've seen it. I felt it in certain games. So, yep. Not a fan of that personally, but hey, people like that, and good for them. I wish I could like it, but all I do is get pissed off. So, well, Ninja Gaiden, of course. Silly question. No. um, Yeah, so let's see. The Ninja Gaiden record's at 1134.1.
Yep.
Wow, it's crazy. Um, so that game's pretty technical. Uh, and I know there's like a ton of tricks that can be confusing. Kind of want to learn more about what they are, really, because I saw the Salt video, but there's not everything that's in the run isn't like included because there needs to be a story element there. So I'm just kind of curious, like what all the stuff you have to do when there is.
I would say for me, there's like three things that go into like higher level playing of this game. One is this idea of quick climbs.
Mm-hmm.
So you have walls in the game that are not runged ladders, and if you jump into them, you'll stick to them, and if you press up or down, you won't move. But there are other walls that are like ladders. They're runged. They have like these rungs, and particularly with those walls, uh, we can like dramatically increase the speed that we climb them. Ryu has this set move speed. Like if you attach to one of these ladders and you just hold up, he's got like this set move speed, and it's like it's not that fast.
Mm-hmm.
When you jump, when you press A, that move speed is much faster. Now we can't jump through the ladders like in some games, like some Mega Man games let you do that. But by small increments, by inserting these little quick climbs, over time we can dramatically save some time. Like, oh, I think I haven't exactly measured this out. I know it's at least 8 seconds, but I think
Wow.
where quick climbing is now, I think you could probably save closer to like between 9 or 10 seconds.
Hmm.
So it's significant.
Wow,
Um,
that's a lot.
yeah, it's a big deal. Um, so like basically you get on the ladder, and like if you jump off of the ladder, you have this limited height that you have before you can reattach to the ladder without dipping down.
Mm-hmm.
So like we're utilizing that jump move speed as much as we can, uh, like many times throughout the ladder. That's a huge deal. That's with like higher, level play of this game. Um, and there's probably, there's going to be someone out there who's going to blow everyone else out of the water in that department. I know that. Um, there's also something called sword canceling. I think that the summoning salt video goes over this,
Mm-hmm.
but like you jump, you press B, Ryu, he sticks out his sword, and normally you have to wait for the entire animation to end before you can attack again, which is like maybe 3 times in the air or something. But if you press down and B, or that is to say down like slightly before B, really,
Mm-hmm.
it will cancel the animation. He'll just roll up into a flippy ball again, and as fast as you can do that is as many times as you can slash in the air. So sword canceling is a really big deal. Not only in just like single sword cancels to preserve ammunition,
Mm-hmm.
because there's a sub weapon called Spin Slash that if you press B in the air, it just gets used automatically. So we can, control when that happens. We can choose not to use the Spin Slash by pressing down and B. But also the final two bosses, Jakio and the Demon. Um, you need to be able to have a really good command of that, and have at least a certain amount of speed. There's a lot of runners who are way faster mashers than me. I feel like almost most people who spent a good amount of time on this game can mash faster than I do. Uh, but you need to be able to be. For me, it's timing. Consistency of timing. That's what's bought me like success with the final two bosses. Knowing exactly when and where to hit these bosses, because they have like these big sprites, but particularly Jakio, his hitbox is like it's really weird. It's really nebulous. I think they messed up. Honestly,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a mess up because like let's say his sprite's like this big. His hitbox doesn't start to like almost over halfway into his sprite, and it actually goes up all the way to the top of the screen, and where it says like, you know, ninja and enemy and the stage that you're on. I feel like they messed it up, but like knowing that has helped me a lot. Um, and the other thing that I would say that technically, you know, the higher technique stuff in this game is just knowledge of it's called the global timer, and it's a counter that starts from when you power the console on, you power the game on till the last hit of the boss, and it counts from 0 to 255 frames, and when it hits 255 it dials back to 0, and then it goes to 255, etc. And that's like how the game decides what it's going to do with certain things, like certain boss patterns, like the Act 3 boss, or really though, these enemies that we call hammer bros, which you deal with actual hammer bros.
Mm-hmm.
But there are these enemies that they throw projectiles at like in an arch sort of trajectory, and they can really like, I don't care how good you are at the game, they can wreck your pace um, at certain points in the game. So like, and this takes like either lots of experimentation and testing or just a lot of experience. You need to know uh, what they're gonna do on like a lot of paces. You know, certain paces are not viable because um, you can take this pace to a certain hammer row that will just knock you backwards and you lose a bunch of time.
Mm-hmm.
So like those are the big three things for me: knowledge of the global timer, um, sword canceling, more specifically though, timing and knowledge of enemy boss actual hitbox, and quick climbs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a lot to keep track of. Especially like I've tried just for fun the, the down B, is it, for the
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that's hard to do, and you have to like mash it, do it fast, and it's a down and B on a controller that's really far away. So it's
Yeah, it's not natural, like
no.
especially at first, it's not natural at all. Also, you have to this is something that the Sumsalt documentary doesn't go over. You have to
Mm.
hold the controller this way, or is it,
Mm.
yeah, this way, you know, like,
Yeah.
and you're moving around like, this is left and this is right, you know. So at first it's kind of like, you know, it's kind of like rubbing your tummy and patting your head
Yeah.
at the same time. Like anything else, you can get used to it, but that's something that the doc didn't go over. I thought he should have, because that's not natural.
No,
that's
not at
that's
all.
really weird.
No, it looks incredibly difficult to mash in that specific way. By the way, sick controller.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, that's another thing I had to. Maybe you've run into problems with this hardware that's like, you know, decades old, doesn't perform the way that you want.
Yeah, I replace
Um,
the rubbers in the controller almost monthly, so I understand.
yeah, yeah. I got I got introduced to my friend Skunky. I used to do a podcast
Hmm.
actually with a friend where we used to interview you know, like speedrunners and world record holders and stuff like that.
Oh, so
And
what
through
I'm
that,
doing.
yeah, yeah. So I'm familiar with the format and I like it. I got introduced to Skunky, who's like the man when it comes to, you know, TMNT NES.
Mm.
Uh, and he's really into um, you know, modifying, creating, and testing everything that we can with NES controllers. And like, he had sent me one of his builds, and it sort of just opened up my mind to the idea that you could do this stuff. Also, another runner, CHX, did a
Mm-hmm.
lot of that, and he sent me some controllers. Both of those guys combined, I took a lot from them, and I did my own tests about what I like in controllers. There's like a variety of rubbers that you can get, different kinds, you know,
Mm-hmm.
not just original entry market ones. There's several third party ones, and they all have different, you know, feels and uses that you could use them for.
Mm-hmm.
And that's another part of what has helped me with this grind. Also, kind of just cool, like creatively. I like making them. I got into painting them and
Mm-hmm.
making them look cool and stuff.
Yeah. I usually just go to the same places for rubbers, but a lot of the times they're not that great. I tried something new for these. I'm not a huge fan of them, but I was gonna say I have a CHX controller as well. That's why my buttons are blue. I get comments on them a lot. So.
That's nice. That's nice. He does great work. He does
Oh
great work.
yeah. I love this controller. No dents in it or anything. It's in really good condition. So I like that, but yeah, I need to just find the right controller rubbers for me. I don't know how, but
Yeah,
it's
that's
so complicated because yeah, all of them are different almost. So
yeah,
and
yeah,
it's impossible to know until you have them and you're trying it out. So it's just really hard to
right,
figure it out.
right. A lot of trial and error. I tried so many things. We tried some Skunky and I tried some weird stuff like melting a spring
Hmm.
into like the A and B buttons so they would like pop a little bit more. That was kind of one of our more wild experiments. It didn't work out, but
Okay. Interesting. I've never heard of that. I know someone tried to make like mechanical switches instead of rubbers.
yeah,
I
this
think he halted operation on that idea, but it was interesting. I was supposed to get a controller and I never did because again it stopped being a thing. But I
yeah.
wonder how that works because I mean that in theory, like I don't know if you've ever had it, but I've had it where the rubbers, like the A and B buttons, it like the piece that you press down snaps in half off of it.
Oh yeah, I break rubbers all the time, dude. Yeah,
So
for sure.
that would like stop that from being a thing. Yeah, Yelsrick. What do
Yeah.
you have one? Yeah. That's what I was specifically talking about. But
Yeah.
yeah, I just
Um
okay.
the switches, I know a couple people with the mechanical switches. I'd be curious to see how they work. Like
Hmm.
even when rubbers don't break, um
They wear out.
specifically, yeah, they
Yeah.
they wear out, they change,
Hmm.
so maybe
Yes.
you come up with a build that works really well for what you're trying to do and you really like it, and then maybe not even that much longer, like 3 weeks later or a month later, it just feels different and it doesn't do what you need it to do anymore.
Hmm.
I had lots of frustration with that. I mean, like in the heat of when I was really, really trying to grind this game, Ninja Gaiden, down. Like sometimes it'd be like 2 weeks. Like I'd have a good
Hmm.
controller for like 2 weeks. So yeah, I'd be really curious about the mechanical switches and how they feel, because yeah, that would be a more permanent solution.
Yeah, I'm still looking for my perfect NES controller. I mean, it matters so much. The story I have is in 2019. I got really good at Mario 1 Warpless finally. And I think I was still using like the old controller from the console that, my parents had, which is why I grew up with an NES. So it had like the original rubbers as the original controller. And I got like two PBs back to back. And then suddenly for 2 weeks, I couldn't do anything and I couldn't figure out why. So someone was like, hey, you should replace the controller rubbers in it. And I was like, all right, I'll give that a try. I did. I immediately got three PBs 3 days in a row, the last
Oh
one being the
wow.
world record. And I was like, okay, there's something
Wow.
to this then.
Yeah, for sure then. Yeah,
Yeah, so
absolutely.
it's very important. It's just hard to find the correct thing because like every game's different. Every game you want like a specific thing. Because
Yeah.
I was sent one that's like good for Marble Madness, like the use of the D-pad, and it doesn't work for what I do. But I was like, okay, I see how this works. Like very loose D-pad for a game like that. But I need like the A and B to be clicky. I need diagonals to not register unless I make sure they do. Otherwise, we have issues. So it's like you really need the right set of circumstances,
Yeah,
and it's hard to
yeah.
figure it all out.
I like the Poppy A and B buttons.
Mm-hmm.
This is an entry market product, but it's third party. So like in the heyday of the NES, when it was an active console, you get something called Doc Fixa pads, which were replacement parts for NES controllers, and there are A and B rubbers give you that. I love them. They're that poppy feel. I love that. I need I need my controllers to,
Mm-hmm. I
or
need
they
that
don't,
too. Yeah.
or they're not for me.
Mm-hmm.
Ninja Gaiden is particularly man, it's so finicky because you need like sort of these two contrary qualities. They sort of like work against each other. You need something that is a bit loose because D-pad wise, at least, you need something that's a bit loose because you're going to be mashing the down directional. So if it's stiff, that makes it difficult to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's too loose and it's like kind of swimming in the controller shell, it makes climbing very difficult because you need to the inputs for that are like left and diagonal up
Mm-hmm.
immediately afterwards, at least on the D-pad. So you have these like two ideas like that are contrary to each other. You need
Mm-hmm.
something that's like it's almost like broken.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You need like a
um,
middle ground, but at the same time, that middle ground would be like two things not working to peak optimal performance. So it's like,
yeah, precisely. So I went through a lot of frustrations with that. I learned a lot, and I have a build that I like. Really, for me, the biggest piece of the puzzle when it comes to a controller that you want to do the thing that you need it to do is the actual like circuit board.
mm,
That's really what's going to dictate how major- for the most part how your controller feels. So like I'll buy maybe 4 or 5 just OEMs, and just from base stats without doing anything, I'll test them and see which ones are the easiest to do the things I need them to with. And then, then afterwards I'll take them apart and I'll clean them and I'll put the parts that I like. And that seems to be a really good process, at least
hmm. I've
thus far.
I've never worried about the circuit board. I'm wondering if I should now.
Well, like, yeah, just in my experience, that's gonna dictate. Like, obviously, the D-pad rubber is huge.
Mm-hmm.
That's gonna like kind of affect how stiff or loose it is. But like for the most part, like that's gonna be the determining characteristic that PCB.
Mm-hmm.
Because unless it's brand spanking new, they're all gonna feel a little different. They actually make this awesome dude, X Homunculus, makes uh, NES circuit boards from scratch.
Mm-hmm.
Um, which unfortunately I wasn't able to have much success with for Ninja Gaiden, but really cool product. He like laser etches artwork into the back of them, and it's actually just really cool that we know that we can make every part of an NES controller,
Mm-hmm.
so that like when inevitably all these parts run out or wear out and don't exist anymore, we'll still be able to like make
Mm-hmm.
them.
Yeah. Hopefully, it's the same way with the hardware, the actual console, because eventually those will shit the bed
Yeah,
too.
that
I'm sure.
that's a thing too.
But I mean, for the most part, they're still kicking pretty well. So maybe we don't have to worry about that for a while.
Maybe
Here's
it's
hoping.
hard to break in NES, so
Yeah.
you gotta really try.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm not like smashing it, but you gotta think that eventually, like the hardware in it's so old, it's just gonna be like, yeah, I've had enough.
Yeah, eventually.
So I fear that day, but that day is not yet. So
Yeah,
I
no,
guess we'll
probably
wait.
not within our speed running careers, as it were.
Maybe not. I mean, I don't know. Depends on how long we do it for and how long they're actually built to last. But
Yeah.
I mean, for the most part, retro hardware seems to be doing all right. So but we love to see it. And I guess there are like clone consoles if there's
Yeah, there's
if they
some clone consoles. I would imagine some of them, like AVS or whatever. Those are like
yeah.
high quality
Mm-hmm.
ones. There's some stinkers out there. There's
Oh
some
yeah.
bad ones. Like I used to mess with what is it called? Retro. It'll come to me.
Okay.
But like it's multi-cart. That it has slots for
Mm-hmm.
NES, Genesis, and Super Nintendo,
Hmm.
like all in the same console. And man, that was terrible. And it would also do really weird stuff. Like sometimes it wouldn't load backgrounds for Super Nintendo games. Um,
Hmm.
it's bizarre, terrible.
Yeah.
Retron,
Oh.
thank you, Sheepdog. Yes, I had a Retron 3, which allows you to play NES, Genesis, and Super Nintendo's bad.
If you want to play them poorly, here you
Yeah,
go.
yeah. It does all three of those things poorly.
Yeah. Well, I can only imagine if you're shoving three different hardwares in the same thing. Hell, it's
Yeah,
probably
just like
not even doing it properly. It's probably like emulating it somehow,
right,
and
right.
not
And like
correctly.
the pin readers on it were like really cheap. So like specifically with the NES card slot, you'd have to like really shove it seemed to like not fit. You have to like really shove it in there, and then when you pull it out, it would like it would bend, and without too much time or force, it would like rip out the card reader. You know, the pins would
Hmm.
like flip up.
Damn. No, thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
That sucks. But yeah, I'm trying to think of. It's like there's like the analog consoles. I think those are the
Right, right.
popular ones do that work really well.
Yeah, those
So,
are really high quality too.
yeah. So there's always that, I guess, as long as they keep
Yeah,
making those.
yeah,
So that's good. But yeah, just old hardware. It's finicky, hard to get it all to work the way you want. So.
yeah. They'll probably, and you know, it's almost already there, but they'll probably get emulation so good that it won't matter. You know,
Yeah, I just prefer playing on original hardware and on a
same,
television.
same.
So
Yeah,
that's what I
absolutely.
want because yeah, I mean every computer's different. So if you're running an emulator on it, there could be input lag, there could be issues. But if you have
Sure.
a
Yeah, yeah,
CRT in an original console, it's gonna play the same every time. That's just how it
yeah, yeah.
works. So.
Yeah, I need to run on a CRT. You know, even when you have a retro tank situation, I'm sure academically or whatever, I'm not correct, but it doesn't feel the same. I can't do it. Like
Mm-hmm.
they set that up for me at SGDQ,
Mm-hmm.
you know, like on an LCD screen or whatever, some flat screen. And I'm like practicing my quick climbs. I'm like, ah, could we could we not?
Could we
can we
not?
get a can we get this on a CRT? Please?
Oh, I just remembered. Yeah, they don't have you play on CRTs on the stage anymore.
Yeah. Now if you
Shoot.
I asked and they accommodated, so that was nice of them.
Oh,
But
okay, that's good because now I'm worried about my thing because I remember last year at HDDQ I tried like their little RetroTink monitor setups for the first time in the practice room, and I could do everything still, but there was like one frame of input lag. I could tell there was
yeah, I
something
swore I
there.
was like, this feels wrong to
Mm-hmm.
me, you know?
Yeah.
Like I think they'll probably still they've got CRTs all over the place, so they should be able to
Yeah. So
accommodate you.
I mean I could probably do it, but yeah, I definitely could tell.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm worried about. But I know a lot of people that play on RetroTinks on monitors now and adjusted just fine. So I know it's a good option, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think it's the option for me personally. So,
No, yeah, I need the CRT, man. I don't know what it is. I just need it.
yeah, I picked up this CRT for like $20. It has component. I love it.
Nice. Nice.
27 inches, so it weighs 100 plus pounds. Just sitting on
That's
this
huge.
desk here. Oh yeah. But hey, I can
Yeah.
see everything very easily.
Yeah.
So,
That's this is sort of an issue of contention, but the one that I picked up, you know, off the side of the road, it still works fine. I actually gave it to a friend of mine, a streamer who's still using it, but like the speakers were kind of like going in and out. They're blowing out a
mm,
little bit. So I was like thinking about, you know, going on like Facebook Marketplace or whatever, seeing if some people trying to get rid of some locally. And my fiance, she encouraged me to get a new one. And I guess you know it's been a while since actively looking at in stores, you know, or purchasing CRTs.
mm-hmm.
So it said how big it was, but I wasn't really thinking about it. And went to pick it up, and it was like it's 32 inches.
Oh
So
no.
my brain didn't register how large that was. 32 inches is stupid big. It's
Yeah.
really big, and yeah, it takes up a lot of room in our small house. So thank thank you for tolerating my crap.
Yeah. I was saying like I get like messages about how giant mine is. It's 27 inches, so I can only imagine it being
It's too
bigger.
big. It's too big.
Yeah,
It's just too big. I
that's
actually
crazy.
I would love to get rid of it. I'd love to sell it. I would love to sell it
Mm.
because I'm not giving it away for free because it's a 32-inch sharp X flat. It's like a really flat screen. It's
Mm-hmm.
got components,
Mm-hmm.
um, and like it has value if someone wants it.
Yeah.
So yeah, but as for now, it's just taking up a lot of room.
Mm-hmm.
But it's great. On the flip side, for me as a runner, I can see every little pixel. These
Mm-hmm.
visual cues they're huge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Maybe I take you up on it because I
Hey,
like
yeah.
the I I mean, I still have mine, but I like the flat screen. Mine's flat screen, but there's some like warping around the edges
Okay.
that I'm not a
Yeah,
huge fan of.
that's a problem with mine. It's not warping, it's but the screen alignment is just a little bit off. It's like just a little this way.
Mm.
And I know that there is a way to get in there with the settings and
Yeah.
realign it.
I've done that with mine.
Maybe you could show me how to do
Yeah.
it. Some of the screen is cut off. It doesn't matter in Ninja Gaiden at all, but
Yeah.
if I were to run other games, like if I were to run Legend of Zelda 1, you need that,
Yeah, you
or
need the side of the screen.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean every TV is different, but there's some technical way to get in there and do it. But yeah, I messed with mine, but like you see text and it's perfectly white, but on the sides it'll become like, blue and red and all that because it's like not
Oh, okay.
aligned pixel
Yeah.
perfectly. So
Gotcha.
that's what
Yeah.
I mean. Mine does that on the side. So in the dead center it's like pixel perfect, but on the edges. And
Gotcha.
it's not a big deal or anything. Like it doesn't
Yeah.
affect me at all, but I just notice it and I'm like, what if? What if it could be fixed? So
Yeah. Yeah.
that's
I
my only
think
issue
like
with it.
20, 24 inches, like that's like the sweet spot.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then like over that, it starts to get like pretty ridiculous with
Yeah.
CRTs.
Yeah, they definitely don't need to be that big, but
No. No.
yeah. I like mine though. It was the reason I got a CRT like this is actually because of GDQ. I really liked their CRTs in the practice room, and I was like, that's the kind of one I want. So now I have one of those. It's the Trinitron 27-inch. So it works out. But yeah, I understand not needing it. I know people that run on like 8-inch little PVMs. So
Yeah, yeah. I have a 9-inch Trinitron. It's cool.
mm.
If I am vacationing somewhere for a length of time, I will bring that so I can still stream. But that's tough.
hmm
It's tough going from 32 inches to 9.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
Well, luckily, especially for the NES, the resolution's so small that you're not like dropping in quality.
Right, right. No, it's small, but it looks great. I mean, it might even look better
Yeah,
somehow.
technically,
Yeah,
yes, it would look better.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's cool. I like CRT talk, so all the different ones. But yeah, so you briefly mentioned your GDQ run. Should talk about that fully because it was pretty cool. I saw it live personally. I was there, so
Yeah, I met you at the event.
yeah.
Yeah. That was wild. So I had been submitting to GDQ for like years,
Mm-hmm.
and they would always give me the no. But everything kind of lined up for SGDQ 2021. Is that what? No,
It was
2022.
it was last year, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I got record in this game. I'm partnered. We should be able to do this, and they finally gave me the go ahead for Ninja Gaiden, and it was cool. Excited, extremely nervous,
Mm-hmm.
freaking out backstage. Is um this awesome clip of my friend, also a streamer, Slackinator, who's
Mm-hmm.
filming me just pacing back and forth. He's like, "Hey, buddy, you ready?" And I'm like, "No."
I need to see this
um,
clip.
and so whatever, we get on stage, and it's just getting worse. Like everything's
Mm-hmm.
getting worse. I realized that because I have a lot of Ninja Gaiden cards. I have like, I don't know, 10 of them, and I thought I marked the one that I intended to bring, which I knew functioned and was like being actively used and clean, but I guess I marked the wrong one. So
Mm.
I'm like putting it in the NES, it's just not starting. I'm like, okay, that's fine, this is normal. I take it out, I put it back in, I give it a little wiggle, it's not working. I do this like many times, and time's getting on. Like
Mm-hmm.
producers looking at me like, what's up, buddy?
Mm-hmm.
We replaced the NES. We tried all these things. Um, so I don't advise doing this. You're damaging the cart for sure, but I was in a bind and I had to try something. So I lick my finger, I swipe the card, I shove it in, it works. I'm like, all right, thank God.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but the image that I saw on the screen, and anybody who saw the SGDQ run can attest,
Mm-hmm.
it was the most bizarre color palette rendering of Ninja Gaiden that I've ever seen in my life. The colors were just crazy,
Mm-hmm.
wild,
They were bright
wild, and
and
like
not correct.
every sprite was like outlined in like this 1 pixel layer of white for some reason. I'm like, oh my god, this is gonna be a mess. This is
Mm-hmm.
gonna be a mess. So like by the skin of my teeth, I make it on time, and they're like, go or whatever, and introduce my couch, and um it's going really well. They went really well.
Mm-hmm.
um I think a lot of that had to do with the game being nice to me on that day, so thank you, RNGesus or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we hit like almost everything. Like I would definitely struggle to do a marathon run even in my own home with my own equipment. We managed to get an 11:43, which is like at that time was like, I think still just like a third place time or fourth. I'm not sure, but it was really good. And not only because there, like I was telling you, all these small little improvements, we were able to showcase like pretty much all of those new things. So we're giving you a reason why we're showing you Ninja Gaiden again.
Mm-hmm.
But we hit the thing that I've gotten to be known for, the play kill at GDQ, which was like a
Mm-hmm.
goal of mine,
I popped
serious
off
goal.
for it.
Yeah, it was a moment, man. It was a moment. It was cool.
Mm-hmm.
I had this whole plan in my head of like, okay, if we get the play kill, I'm gonna quickly explain it. I'm like, all right, good, we got the play kill, which is like a 1.5 cycle kill, and like, but all that came out was like, that's our GDQ plates. Yeah, and I like
Mm-hmm.
yelled it out. Um, yeah, and it was just like kind of lightning in a bottle. I was lucky enough to have Aquas, on my couch, help me out with commentary, and we were practicing in the practice rooms, and I'm like not hitting stuff, and our banter is like really stilted and awkward. But for some reason on the GDQ stage, it kind of just all came together, and like we had really good moments together, and I was really happy to showcase the game in that way, and also shout out so many people from the community that helped me, with the strats, and helped me on my way to GDQ and stuff. It was a really cool moment.
Yeah, it was definitely a great run to watch. I was there just in front of the big screen. Remember on the left. I remember it pretty well. But yeah, I remember seeing the game come up, and I was like, "What happened here?"
Yeah, yeah, that was wild, dude.
Yeah, the white outline. I was like, this isn't. I don't even know how that could happen.
Yeah, I
It
have no
doesn't make
idea
sense.
why that happened. It might, I think, because I didn't see myself, but some people were saying that the color palette for the previous run, which I think was a Blaster Master race,
Mm,
and also an NES game, that it looked kind of strange.
mm,
So maybe they had some kind of color palette setting that was not advisable, and also the cursed, dirty, probably disgusting, never cleaned since the 80s Ninja Gaiden cart that I managed to shove in the NES and make it work, combined to make such a terrible looking rendering of that game.
maybe. It's
But
just
yeah, I remember
crazy.
particularly in the act 3 boss room is very muted colors. It's like browns and dull yellows and black,
Mm-hmm.
and the screen loads in, and it's just like I remember I didn't even try the quick kill or whatever. I just stood there because it was like neon orange,
Hmm.
and like I just couldn't read any of the cues. I just totally beefed that kill, and Akos was like, RetroRunner gets like good enough kill.
Yeah,
um
that's all that's needed.
yeah.
I mean, still on 11:43 with all of that. I remember I don't think I could believe it. I was like, holy shit, that's
I
so
was not
good.
expecting that myself. I
Yeah,
was not.
especially under those conditions.
Yeah, I was ready for just the biggest shit show that you've ever seen. I was like, all right, well, this is gonna be bad, right?
Hmm.
Try not to be too disappointed. It's gonna be bad,
Hmm.
but it was great.
Yep, it was impressive, all right. Just and then like the final boss went like really well too. I know it wasn't like perfect, but because it's
It was
really
it was
hard.
it was really good. I mean, we only got one knock forward from a shrimp, which is still really
Yeah,
good
that's really.
RNG. It's
Oh yeah, that's
incredible
great.
RNG.
So
Um,
you
you could
like
get a world record right now with that demon.
yeah. Well, there you go. So world record's easy. You heard it
It's
here
free.
first.
Go
Yeah,
out and
it's free.
get it.
Yeah.
Go out and get it.
And I remember you were like using a speed board or something, right? Up there.
Yeah. So that's I guess the other thing that I brought to this game. Like a lot of people before that were using just like the chair that they're sitting on. We're talking
Hmm.
again about positioning the controller uh vertically, but
Mm-hmm.
you have to put it on something. A lot of people put it on their thigh,
Mm-hmm. That's
you
how I do
know.
one-handed runs.
But my thigh is, I don't know about yours, but mine is like quite round. So
Mine
um
is not. So.
mine is pretty round, so it kind of controlling things becomes hectic. And like dudes like Arcus and Dexter, they use the chair. It's already a flat surface. So that's how I started. I would get like a book, I put it on a book. And that I was like, oh wow, this is already helping me out so much.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had this idea. The one that I have now is like really gross looking because no one sees it and I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just a cutting board.
Oh.
It's getting chroma keyed out. But it's just a cutting board that I've glued things um to position a controller on.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not the only one who uses one. It's an idea that more or less took off and people made their own or like actually cut holes in their like computer desk, to put the
Yikes.
controller there. Um, but that helps a lot with the moving, because you got to mash in the boss fight, but you also got to move around.
Mm-hmm.
So it helps out with, I find, moving around becomes a lot more realistic. And I remember I was like, I'm definitely going to talk about it because this thing's going on YouTube and people are not always very nice on YouTube.
Mm.
um, but not knowing that the camera angle didn't show it, so I guess I didn't need to talk about it at all. But
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Um. So, but that's different to like how the speed board kind of does it, right? Was that
it's a
different on
similar
stage?
idea. It
Yeah.
is. The problem with the speed board is that it actually like clicks in pretty tightly.
Mm.
And I need to kind of just position the controller very quickly, so you don't have time to like click it in. But it's almost the same idea,
Mm-hmm.
um, pretty much. You're using a surface to stabilize a controller.
Yeah. It was just nice to finally see the speed board be used a single time ever because that thing is so useless.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like the commercial shows, like okay, so it clicks in, and then you're supposed to like play
Mm-hmm.
like this, you know.
Yep.
Um, but I could even this way, I could see like as long as you can use your thumb, like um mashing like this is way more effective than it can be than mashing with your thumb. You see like contra runners and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
um, mash with their index.
Yeah. Uh, yeah, it was just interesting seeing the speed board whipped out. And I was like, oh, oh, there it is. Never thought I'd see that. But yeah, it was the GDQ run was really good. So I remember it well. We had to wake up pretty early for it though.
Oh God, it was the run. I think was at 6 in the morning
Mm-hmm.
that time. So
Yeah, that's when
I
I'm
forgot.
asleep. in the middle of
I
my
forgot what
sleep.
ungodly hour I woke up at, but it was early. it
Hmm.
was it was early.
I remember I woke up and watched it and then went back to bed. But yeah.
Yeah, that was my plan, but it didn't pan out that way.
Mm.
Like I was like, I'm gonna do my run, I'll go back to sleep, come back to life, party with my friends. But it was sort of just like we had breakfast and I never stopped.
Hmm. You just had this insane run. I can't go back to sleep now.
Yeah, yeah. I think I tried, but I was like,
Yeah.
And we visited Mall of America too. They were like, come
Hmm.
on, you want to go? We're all going to Mall of America. It was just like the largest mall uh in the US or the world, maybe. I don't know.
Mm.
But it's a pretty big mall. It's like the size of a small neighborhood. So we went there, we had lunch there, and uh the day's getting on. I'm like,
Hmm.
I'm not going to sleep anytime soon.
Yep. Yeah. I went to the mall as well
Nice,
one
nice.
of those days. Yeah. It's cool that it's right there. Although this time GDQ is more downtown. So
Oh, really?
yeah, it's in a
Okay.
different hotel. So I don't know how that will
Oh,
all
okay.
work.
I figured it would be at the same
Yeah,
venue, but
I did too, but it's not.
yeah.
I don't know, like their contract ran out or something.
Yeah.
I don't know how it works, but yeah, I was surprised to hear it be at a different location. I think it's like at the location it originally was before they moved to the DoubleTree
Oh,
or
okay.
something. I could be wrong, but something like that. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'll see what the venue's like. I've never been to it, so
Yeah, yeah. Let us know if it's better, cooler.
so
Hopefully they'll have more in the way because like it's still a thing, but last year it was still very much in the heat of the
hmm
pandemic. So like there was a lot of like just the arcade machines. Usually I know they have a lot of them, but there are not that many. They're
oh
still
yeah,
very much encouraging social distancing, which is wise. Yeah, absolutely
yeah,
agreed with. They were very diligent about cleaning everything. But maybe be cool to see at least a little more in that way.
yeah.
Things people do.
The arcade was very lackluster last time.
Yeah, there was
Understandably
like
so, but like,
yeah,
holy
exactly.
crap.
Yeah, there were
But
like
yeah,
7 machines, I think.
it's supposed to be a lot better this time. So, like, they're limiting the restrictions, but it's still like masks and stuff. So it's
Yeah,
not,
yeah,
it's, I mean, they ran the event so well last time. I didn't get sick, and no one I knew got sick. So I trust them to know what they're doing.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, I'm
Same.
excited to see what the arcade looks like this year because it's been a while since they've had a really cool one.
Yeah,
But
I
yeah,
mean,
that
I know I haven't. That was the first and only GDQ I've been to,
hmm
but I know in the past they've had like vendors and stuff, and
hmm
like just like cool things going on. Aside from the actual event.
yeah, like the Smash room, the board game room, the casual gaming room. They brought panels back this year.
Oh,
Uh,
nice, nice. That's cool.
and then whatever else. Yeah, they'll have some little booths set up here and there sometimes. So plenty of stuff to do. Oh yeah, there was
Right.
a like game tournament room,
Oh, cool.
stuff
There's
like
all
that.
these cool things.
hmm Yeah,
I'm sad I don't
GDQ, but
miss that.
pre-COVID had it all.
Right, right.
Yeah, the SGDQ 2022 one was not a good representation of what GDQ was
It's
before
kind
the
of a weird
pandemic.
first one to
hmm
go to, I suppose.
Yeah, it's just a shame how all that happened because yeah,
Yeah,
GDQ used to be a lot more fun, but unfortunately, some worldly events had to occur to make it a lot less
yeah.
fun.
I remember a good solid block of time where I was like, there's probably a pretty good chance that we'll never see an in-person GDQ again.
mm,
These I was figuring these online GDQs are still doing so well
mm-hmm.
that maybe it's not worth the overhead, the risk, the liability, and in the face of a pandemic, I'm like, maybe this is how it's just gonna be from now on. But I'm glad to see that at least we get some kind of in-person event.
Yeah. I think they're back in full force now.
Yeah,
Well,
seems
not in
to be.
full force, but they're
Yeah,
back
yeah,
live, which is good.
right.
But yeah, but I'm glad they still like allow people that aren't on site to perform. So I think that's a pretty positive change from
Yeah,
all of
yeah. So
this.
that's a new introduction that I guess will keep. So you
hmm
can submit and not be there in person, that's totally cool. Opens up the possibilities to every corner of the globe, you know,
Mm-hmm.
new runners and stuff that you normally wouldn't be able to see. Very, very cool stuff. Although I remember, and I was like, I hope this isn't what is remembered from this event, SGDQ 2022. There was an online runner.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot what he was running. A
Metal Gear
Metal Gear
something.
game.
Metal Gear something. Yeah.
Yeah, like Metal Gear Rising or Revengeance or something. Who faked some stuff,
Yeah.
and got super caught. But I was like, oh, great! Of course,
Of
the
course.
first one that I'm a part of, like that's what happens. But
Mm-hmm.
as these things tend to be, just no one cares anymore. It's swept under the rug.
Yeah.
Um,
That was
that's wild. And from what I understand, it wasn't even the main run. It was like an extra incentive or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So like, I don't know what goes through your mind. Like, all right, we're gonna meet the incentive, and like after my dope real run, I'm gonna show them this completely faked world record, and I'm gonna be famous or whatever. I don't know what people think, but that's wild that you would even try
Yeah.
that.
That was that was an event, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I saw a video on it because I didn't know about it until much
No,
later.
yeah, same. I didn't know about it till pretty well after the fact.
Yeah. But yeah, that was just weird. A weird
Yeah.
situation. So
So I guess
that's
they
the
by
one
now,
downside to online
right,
runs.
right. But I think they might have changed some of the rules, I guess, of how you set your stream up online because of
Hmm.
it. So maybe that's
Okay.
good.
Yeah. But I was gonna say like it's still a good change because one of my commentators now is online, and that wouldn't have been
Oh,
possible.
that I didn't even think of that. So
Yeah.
you could, that's cool. You could be IRL running the game, and you could have commentary from literally anybody
Hmm.
and on the globe. That's really cool.
Yeah, I think in person, if you're running in person, you were limited to like one online commentator,
Mhm.
especially if you had commentators on site as well. So I use that
Right.
to my advantage here. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I like that change because like not a ton of Mario 1 people are going. So I have limited commentary that I can choose from. So it's nice to have someone not going to be able to talk. So,
Yeah, that's cool. That definitely opens up. But it's also wild to be like, I'm going to a GDQ and there's like not a lot of Mario people. Like what?
Mario 1 specifically.
Yeah,
Because
Mario
they're all
One
going to
people. Like,
pace because there's a big tournament a month later, so
okay, okay, that makes sense.
maybe at least I don't know, but
Maybe that could be a factor. But I just feel like I don't know. That's a overall trend with GDQ. I think is like as this event ages, like the incentives are not really there so much. I don't know. With retro games, it seems to be a little less and less, which is understandable.
mhm,
Um, but I remember like Mario, like especially that's a staple of GDQ, or like the Mega Man block, or at least an NES block. Kind of scattered now, or they put you in like at an ungodly hour.
mhm,
Actually, comparatively to some other NES runners I knew at the SG at that event, SGDQ 2022, I was like, all right, I'm cool with 6 in the morning because it's not like 3 in the morning.
mhm.
you know?
Yeah, it could have been worse.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got a lucky NES slot then. Mine's like at the last day at 1 p.m.
Oh
So,
wow, dude, that's like it's damn near prime time.
NES representation is back.
NES repping hard.
Hell yeah. And also, I think I don't know if you weren't at GDQs when they were doing this, but Yelsrick knows about it. There was Nest Block. They would do a bunch of like NES speedruns during like a giant like JRPG or something that was 8 hours or something. So
Yeah, yeah, Nest Block. I remember
okay,
Nest Block. I mean,
so
I
I
wasn't there, but I would watch. That used to be a. What do you mean? There's no Nest Block? It's a staple of the event.
mhm. Well, I don't even mean the official Nest Block. I mean the unofficial Nest Block. There were
An a
yeah,
secret Nest. What?
Yeah, one that was recorded in the practice room and then later uploaded to not interfere with GDQ.
Oh, so
Hmm.
yeah, I
Yeah,
don't know
I
that.
was the part of the first. Yelsrick was one of the people that started that. Enemy was the other one, I think. I think it was them too. Yeah, so that started AGQ 2019, and they had it every year, but they didn't have it last year. But I've heard it's returning.
Oh,
Mm. So
hmm.
we will see some NES content in some form, at the very least. Yes, I'm quite excited because that those
Nice.
were always fun. But yeah, you just record all the runs in the practice room and then play them later. Obviously, you couldn't stream at GDQ something that wasn't GDQ. That would get into some issues, but they could
Right.
record it ahead of time, which
Yeah.
so yeah, I'm excited to do that again because I participated in the other ones when I went. That was always fun. So,
Nice, nice. Now, as I am learning more about what's going on, now I'm actually getting the FOMO. You know,
mhm.
before I was okay with it. Now I'm like, oh man, I'm missing out on all this stuff.
Yeah, that's why I do my best to never miss them because I know if I will regret it. That's just
uh,
I missed SGDQ 2019. I regret it. I don't want to feel that way again. So I make myself go, even if it's not maybe the best financial decision.
yeah.
But I mean,
I,
at least this one I have an excuse. I kind of have to be there. So
oh yeah. You know, you
I'm
have to.
good.
You're good. You're good. Yeah.
I'm good.
It's not a question of want. You need.
Yes, I must
Um,
be there. The show cannot go on without me.
yeah. Literally, everything's going to come to a screeching halt.
Hmm.
Where's GTA's?
Yes, exactly.
I'm getting married this year, so it's a
Mm,
super
yes.
expensive
Okay.
year.
I think you have an
So
excuse to not go.
I had to cut like one thing, you know, at least. Um, and now I didn't have enough reason to go at the time, so I was like, all right, I guess I'll miss this one.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah, yeah,
That's a good enough reason.
yeah, yeah.
There aren't many good enough reasons, but that's a good enough reason.
That's one of them. Yeah,
That's one of them.
that's
I
for
can't
sure one of
argue
them.
with that.
Yeah,
Um, so trying to get back into the Ninja Gaiden stuff, you explained like the three main things you need to be good at, but there's so many like other small like oh here's this boost and here's that thing, and they all have
sure.
like these funny names
Yeah,
sometimes. So I always get confused like what's what and what it means and what it does. What are the like
yeah.
big ones in there?
The two main ones that people are like, what? I think the one I already went over is it's called Eggs Benedict.
Hmm.
It's actually called the Exit Boost. That's really what it's called.
Hmm.
And it actually had another name before that, based off of the runner who discovered it, who confirmed Chater. So we don't even mention his name anymore.
Mm.
But they took the initials from that and they were like, okay, we can call it the exit boost because it boosts you to the exit of stage 6-2. And I guess because Arcus, you know, he talks about like food, I
Hmm.
guess, a lot on his channel. He turned it into EB Eggs Benedict. And, you know, this whole idea of like the first part of the boost, this little gremlin, Castlevania-ish gremlin letting you clear him, jump over him. That's like we'll call that the hollandaise sauce,
Hmm.
right? And then like the hammer bro cooperating, being where he needs to be for you to spin him. Well, and actually successfully getting the boost, we'll call that the poached egg, and we'll call the whole thing, you know, eggs Benny. So this was a spiel of like, you know, we're gonna need something called eggs Benny. To make eggs Benny, you need hollandaise sauce. So we'll order up hollandaise sauce. And what about the poached egg? People like that. But I think even people that like that, some of them have no idea what
What's
what
going on?
what I'm talking about at all.
Yeah, I don't. So now I do. I've been
Now you
informed.
do.
Now you
Now
know.
you do. Yeah, that's the one. That's one I get asked about a lot. There's also a. It's not they're very new anymore, but it's sort of new. Um, you know, the past year or two, called the Beer Full of Belly Boost. It's just named after Beer Full of Belly.
Yeah.
Um, who I don't know. I don't. It's actually. I'd love to talk to him directly. He's not. He's also hasn't been on this platform for a while.
Mm.
But I'm not sure if he actually made this. strategy. I think what happened is in the low percent category, since you don't have access to spin slash, you got to go about boosting through this area a little bit more creatively without spin slash. And I think he was the runner that realized that that still saved time in any percent. So I think he just applied a low percent strategy to any percent.
Hmm.
We called it the beer full of belly boost. A lot of people get confused about that one because
But
beer
that's
full
just
of
the
belly
name. Yeah,
is not a name that you hear in every day,
it's
but
not. None of
it's an
ours
awesome
are though.
handle, and
Usually.
I love that dude. He's
Yeah.
really cool and super good at so many games. It'd be awesome to see him come back uh,
Hmm.
someday. But those are probably the biggest two that people are like, "What?" You know,
Yeah.
asking about.
Well, there's the pickle boost. That's a fun one.
That's probably the newest. That's probably the newest strat. Um, a combination of runners built that one. Really though, the person who really started to work on it is a runner named Edo, who like all of the new little improvements, the little boosts and stuff like that. They've almost all been from him, from Edo. He's also got a very creative mind when it comes to speed running and labbing things out and questioning whether current meta is the best way to do things. So he made a version of that boost that utilizes what I actually call pickle ninjas because they're green.
Hmm.
That's it.
Yeah,
It's
that's
sort
it.
of like they're like plot. Also, they fall from the ceiling, kind of just like plop, like a pickle. I don't know. Doesn't make a lot of sense. But he made a version of that that was very tight and not. It wasn't like it wasn't RTA viable, but it only saves I don't know, it's about 3/10 of a second, maybe between 3/10 and half a second. So like for that amount of time and how tight it was like not the most attractive thing. And then another runner, Ninja Gaiden runner named Black Squall, refined it a little bit and made it a lot easier. Not only did he make it a lot easier to execute, but he actually made it save a little bit more time.
Mm.
Um, so that's this like timer, right? And like as I explained, the pickle ninjas fall from the sky. So you get the stop timer, which stops all enemies in their tracks at a specific time, and it stops the pickle ninja in a specific place, so you can like kind of boost off of him. And basically, what it does is there's a wall and there's a ladder, and the pickle ninja falls in between the wall and the ladder. And instead of having to travel all the way to the wall, that pickle ninja boosts, like kind of bridges the gap a little there. So it's a smaller gap, and it cuts the gap, and you're able to boost and flip flop faster than you normally would be able to without the pickle. But yeah, that's a newer one. That's probably the newest piece of tech, and I was like really excited to get that at GDQ and
Hmm.
just validate like, hey, yeah, this game's faster because of this and this and this.
Hmm. Yeah, I love all the funny names that that game has. It's nice to know what they actually do,
Yeah,
because
yeah, I'm happy to explain it to you or anyone really who
yeah.
stops by uh, and is interested enough to ask.
Hmm.
That's like a speedrunning thing in general. Like these tricks have like sometimes bizarre names that you're like, what? There's this trick in it totally changes the subject. There's this trick in Mega Man X called booty grab, which you would think that booty grab, you're like grabbing a booty, but you're sliding against the wall to grab a sub tank. Um, with something called the phantom grab, which I won't get into, but you're not grabbing a booty, you're grabbing something with your booty.
Mm. Okay, makes sense. I mean, I know funny names plenty, and we have the Blaze It, so
Blaze it.
we
That's the
have Blaze It.
420 thing.
Yeah,
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 yeah, I know about that.
the 4-2 wall clip. It's the 4-2 Blaze It
Yeah,
because Blaze It found it.
yeah.
He's not here right now to validate his findings, but we appreciate him and his funny name. So, yeah, we funny speedrun tricks are always a good time. Love the casual viewer who can just be like, ah, funny. and I'll remember that, but they'll have no idea how it works.
Yeah, yeah.
Just funny to think about. But yeah, most tricks in that game just feel like they save barely any time,
Then
especially now.
all the newer ones, just
Hmm.
very small, point 0.2, point 0.3. Actually, people still have been putting stuff very recently in the Discord, um, but they're just too small. They're save like a tenth
Hmm.
of a second, which is it's not really very much worth it
Yeah.
yet. But maybe one day this game will be that fast that you need all that stuff.
Hmm. So it's like hard tricks that barely save any time.
Yeah, like
Hmm.
hard tricks or tricks that require a certain pattern. The hammer
Mm,
bro needs to do
yeah.
something pretty
Okay.
specific that makes it like not very RTA viable, at
Yeah.
least yet.
That's fair. Yeah. It's crazy how many like small, tiny time saves there can be in games. I guess I'm not used to it because all the games I'm used to, you have the level finishes on certain times, so you can almost perfect it without having to play perfectly. But most games they don't work that way. Every frame matters
Right.
the entire run. It's like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, that happens. So
Yeah.
it's like,
I like it. Also in the beginning when I first started dabbling in speedrunning, I used to observe other runners and I used to think that like, oh, this trick plus this trick plus this trick equals a world record,
hmm.
right? And
Hmm.
like so I started messing with Mega Man X and like I was like getting those tricks or most of them or all of them and my times were just so much slower
Hmm.
than these other runners and I didn't get it. And it took me a long time that like even a trick that saves a good amount of time, like 3 seconds, which would be a
Hmm.
lot, right?
Yes.
A trick that saves 3 seconds is huge. That's just like one little part of the game. There's this whole other game where you have to move cleanly, optimally, efficiently. And like that's the game, that's the run.
Hmm.
Yes, you need to hit these tricks, but this idea of like clean movement that didn't sink in for a while.
Hmm.
Um, and it that's that's the run. The
Hmm.
tricks are cool and you need them to get certain times, but your movement, if your movement is crap, then it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, movement's most of the run. So it's actually
Right,
like the
right.
biggest factor. You'll just have these tricks in there that's like, oh, it's like here's your, time save and then shoot spike of time save here.
Sure,
Potentially, got to
yeah.
hit this trick. But I mean, there's always this like constant motion, especially with games that where like every frame matters, where it's like, yeah, you have to
Right.
have good movement. There's no way around that. And that's like actually the thing you should be worried about more than the
The
tricks
most,
right
right.
away. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, definitely what I tell people that are starting out. Don't worry so much about the hard stuff. Worry about playing the game well in general first.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah. I always think like before you speedrun a game, play through it casually so you understand it and then like work on movement and then the tricks and then you get good. That's
Right, right.
generally how it goes. Or as good as you want to get, I guess. Um So 11:34 is the record. It can go to like 11:30. What are like the big tricks that can be saved then? If there's that much
Um,
time, is it
I
just movement?
so my record's it's pretty good,
Yeah, I'd say,
but
but
it's pretty good. There's really not so much you could pick at, but there's one part. I'll try to be brief with this explanation, but going back to this idea of the global timer, so to accommodate faster paces and pushing this game even further,
Mhm,
I've been manipulating the global timer because the meta for a very long time was to reset the game and mash the start button to affect a very low global timer, and that will give you, you know, free and clear passive sort of hammer bros that won't give you any problems, at least for the first 3 acts or 4 acts or so. But if you establish a fast enough pace, they will get in your way. Um, I've had much greater success with powering the game on and letting some amount of seconds. I've played with a lot of different kinds of global timer manipulations.
mhm,
The one that I use now you're gonna have to contend with the global timer. I don't care how good you are at the game, how fast you're going, um, or when you are starting the game. At some point, you're gonna have to leverage a sort of gamble of whether or not you're going to get hit by a hammer bro, or you're gonna have to deal with that in some way. There's no way around that.
Mm-hmm.
But the way that I've been doing it is I've manipulated the global timer so that we play very consistently. We get to Act 4, and the first hammer bro in Act 4, he's always going to throw. He's always going to throw. But there's a good chance that he will throw over your head, or he will give a very shallow throw, like right in front of him, and you won't have to worry about it. And if you get that, it is smooth sailing for the rest of the game. You don't have to worry about Hambros at all.
Mm.
Completely stay out of your way from that point to the end of the game.
Hmm.
Is why it's worth it for me to bother doing that. But in the record, I get knocked back. He hits
Mm.
me, and it's a bad place to be hit because he's at a higher level than you elevation wise. You're lower, so it's not just like a level knockback. It's a knockback, and you fall a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's coupled with the fact that even once you get back to that higher elevation, there's a bird that spawns that you have to deal with, and like standing slash, which adds even more time. So there's like almost 2 seconds of wash in 4-1, where if we continue with the plan, which is what we've been doing, we continue with the plan and just play well and roll the dice to not get hit there,
Mm-hmm.
then we can bank quite a bit of green. Like even if we play like not completely optimally, like kind of well, we can pocket a second and a half there
Mm-hmm.
on average. And then there's a few other places where I missed a couple climbs or whatever, could do some things a little bit more optimally and earn an additional half a second. We recently we got to not just Act 6, but we got to the last screen of Act 6. This is before the final boss room.
Mm-hmm.
We got to that room with like almost 2.5 seconds in the green,
Mm-hmm.
and I beefed the beer full of belly boost, so it was scuffed. But like we there's that much time on the
Mm-hmm.
table, which if we would have sealed the deal and the demon stayed out of our way, everything went as well as it could have. That's like 11:31,
Mm-hmm.
low 11:31. So yeah, there's that amount of time realistically. Just got to keep throwing attempts at it.
Yeah, I was gonna mention that. I remembered you being like 2 seconds ahead, and I was like, did something new happen? Like, how is this
That'd be
happening?
classic.
But so that's
Yeah,
why. Okay.
yeah,
I didn't realize there was like such a, don't want to say like a huge error, but I mean, you wouldn't realize it loses that much time just watching it, I guess, without knowing. So it's crazy that there's just, oh yeah, that was 2 seconds, by the way. So you could save 2 seconds.
yeah. And then of
Wow.
course, even you have to play well throughout the rest of the
Hmm.
game, because that's about halfway through the game.
Just tie the
But
PB from that point forward. Easy.
right, yep, and
That's all.
easy.
Yeah, that's
I
all.
think even that record for at least when did I realize that we could do the thing? I don't know, somewhere late in Act 5, probably 5-3. I realized, okay, this is a world record pace. But when we got knocked back, I was just kind of playing a run out,
Hmm.
like I was just, all right, we'll finish this one. We'll play it just to play it, because generally that sort of thing is not
Yeah.
acceptable.
Hmm. Makes
um,
sense.
it's just that everything after that point, there isn't really, like I was saying, there's not really much to be saved
Hmm.
after that. you
Yeah, you
know.
just have to worry about execution from there on out, pretty much.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, you said there's like kind of some luck on the eggs Benedict, but
Yeah, there are three factors of RNG. There's this. The problem is that, so what we're doing is, as we're walking from that last screen in 6-2 from left to right, there's this little gremlin guy, Castlevania 1 gremlin guy,
Mhm.
who's running towards us from right to left. The point that we're looking to jump over him, it's very close to this green pole. So the window that you have to jump and actually clear the gremlin without sticking to the left side of the green pole is actually, it's pretty narrow. And it's actually so narrow that sometimes, almost by subpixels only,
Hmm.
the gremlin is just a little too further to the left, you know, to prevent you from clearing him, basically. Um, so that's the first part of RNG. He's got to be in the right place for you to be able to clear him. And then the other thing is there's a hammer bro, and most of the time what goes wrong with him is he's moonwalking. You know,
Hmm.
he's way too far to the right. He's out of your range of spin slash. You won't hit him. You just bonk into him. And the third thing is the gremlin can do two things. One is he can jump late, which is the easiest of the things, the two patterns that he can give you that he can work with. Very easy to read. You just meet him at the height of his first jump, which is late. Or he can jump early, which is a little bit more difficult to read because you have to wait for the first jump to come all the way down and meet him at the height of his second jump.
Hmm.
But sometimes he can give you this pattern that's sort of in between early and a late jump. We call that Eggs Benedict Arnold because he's a traitor.
Mm. Makes
And
sense.
if you meet that boost, you will die every time. It is an unwinnable pattern.
Mm.
Mm.
So if you don't get the unwinnable pattern, but like it doesn't work out, how much time loss are you looking at?
That's hefty because
Mm.
you're taking a knockback, but you're also not getting the optimal boost. I don't know. It's like between, it's almost 2 seconds, maybe.
Damn. And do you know like what are the odds of getting through?
I
Like,
don't know what the odds of getting through are, but it used to be, like I was saying, it used to be thought of as like, oh, that's why would you risk a world record pace
mm-hmm.
to that? And I just started throwing it every time. It seems to work out. Like, I don't know, a good 3 out of 4 times.
That's not bad.
Not scientific at all, but like most of the
Hmm.
time, even and when I'm on a really good pace and I try it, it seems to like work a lot of the time.
Hmm. Interesting. Yeah, you feel like something that has that amount of factors would not work out that
Right,
often,
right,
so that's interesting.
yeah,
You don't see that a lot. Like usually you have a exact number, like S&B 3 hands, like oh 50% each. You can do the math,
right,
but
right.
yeah. Hmm. Well, that's interesting. So I'm trying to. I know you need to go uh fairly soon,
Yeah,
right? So
sadly,
yeah,
I
I'm
need
I'm
to
trying
stream
to trying to wrap some things up here. So I'm seeing what questions I can do that would not take too much time. You talked about other games you did. Yeah. What are some games you like to watch that you haven't run yet?
games I like to watch.
Yeah.
I love watching. I haven't really run this, so this counts. I love watching Super Smash TV, easy mode. It's
Interesting.
quick runs, like 5 minutes or so.
Mm-hmm.
But that's like really exciting because there's a ton of RNG in that game,
Mm-hmm.
and I would never grind a game down that had as much RNG as that game does. But as a viewer, when a runner has a pace going on and like the RNG things are happening, I don't know, it's almost like it's triggering like the slot machine dopamine
The gamble.
sort of activity in the brain. That's a really fun one to watch. Um, I like watching a lot. I like streaming, but I like watching too. I
Mm-hmm.
like I love this platform. Um, I like obviously Ninja Gaiden 2. I like watching that run. I'll put hands on that eventually in
Mm-hmm.
3.
Yeah.
Um, I've been watching my friend Finn run Kabuki Quantum Fighter, which is a really weird NES game where you
What?
play as like this kabuki character. Like you hit things with your hair. It's wild, but the movement is cool. You're like, it's kind of, I would call it almost combination movement wise. It's almost like Batman NES, and it's got Ninja Gaiden things going on there
Hmm.
too. If you haven't heard of it, it's a wild game, so
Sounds like it.
definitely
Is that
check
like
it
a
out.
Japanese only kind of thing?
No. I think
No.
it's a US
Wow.
release.
I've never heard of it.
NTSC release. Um, I don't know. There's a lot of runs. I love. I never actually learned Mega Man X2,
Mm.
but I've been watching Tokyo improve. He's got record in MMX2 any percent, and I've been watching him grind. The movement is insane, and that entire trilogy, the movement is absolutely nuts. There's always something to be looking at, and it's a very fast paced run.
Mm-hmm.
I like a wide variety of runs and games, so I'm not just I have my community is largely NES
Yeah.
based, but I like a lot of different kinds of retro games and runs and runners.
Yep. Yeah, that's good. I'm definitely an NES person, so that's what I stick to. But it's nice to see some variety because I've said it recently that like almost every game has something about it that makes speedrunning it look at least look sick. Maybe not doing it yourself.
Right, right,
like
yeah.
like the RNG thing. Like I get the whole like RNG thing. I still feel like I get mad if other people get bad RNG though. Like I feel bad for them.
You
I get
feel
mad for them.
bad for them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
not the same level obviously, but I
yeah.
don't know.
I guess for me it stings less. So like when
It does sting
I just
less.
get I just get the payoff when they do get the RNG. Like it feels good in my brain.
Yeah, it feels the same good, but maybe not the same bad.
Right, right.
Just a
Yeah, it's
little
less
less
bad.
so.
Less bad.
Because someone else has to take the actual pain. You didn't do the work getting there.
Yeah,
You were just
yeah.
watching.
And just you know, benefit from your hard work and
Yep. All right. Well, you got any future plans, specifics?
future plans. You know, hopefully I could give you folks at least another one of these Ninja Gaiden records.
Mm-hmm.
Um I would love to at some point start, instead of dividing my day between Ninja Gaiden 90% and say Bucky O'Hare or some weird game like Monster Party or something like that, dividing it between Ninja Gaiden 90% and actually learning Ninja Gaiden 2. It's something that people ask me a lot, like, have you run Ninja Gaiden 2? Have you run Ninja Gaiden 2? Like,
Mm-hmm.
no, I haven't, but I would like to start learning it. Um, and like I was saying, in October, I kind of put everything on hold and we go full ham on the Halloweensies
Mm-hmm.
stuff. So I'd like to go back to Super Ghouls and Ghosts. We were able to get like a top 20 time, which is not, it's not that easy to do. That game is impossible. So, but I would like to get very good and serious about that game and kind of get more people from that community on my side. And yeah, that's also, you know, continue with the YouTube thing. I've been trying to push YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
We were talking about that a little off stream.
Yeah.
Try to be more consistent about the YouTube, the shorts, and you know, the edited long form stuff too. I'd love to see the YouTube channel grow a little bit more.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, just keep on doing what I'm doing, entertaining people. Hopefully, you know,
Mm-hmm.
hopefully people who come
Yeah.
by have a good time. I try to give them not just like good gameplay, but I try to make it apparent that this is that my channel's a cool place to hang out. You know, have a good time. Tell me about your day. A lot of time we talk about like movies or music or just dumb things that have nothing to do with speed running. That's like the majority of what happens on my channel, and lucky enough to say that I do this full time for anyone who wants to see it. And I hope to just continue to be able to do that and continue to grow and give you more quality stuff.
Yeah. Sounds good. I mean, I definitely enjoy the stream. I love the music stuff, the alert shit people shit post in there. It's funny.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. Um, so I guess we can kind of wrap things up here. I'll go ahead and say if there's any chat questions, now's the time to ask. And while we're waiting, go ahead and shout yourself out however you would like to. I have your
Uh,
socials on the stream, but
sure, yeah. You can follow me on twitch.tv/TheRetroRunner. You can, it would help me out a lot if you can subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/TheRetroRunner. Also kind of indirectly helps the channel grow if you follow me on Twitter, if you have one. And I'm at retro underscore runner. So, at symbol retro underscore runner. It's also a good way to just keep up with, things that I'm doing that are kind of like maybe not directly related to streaming or kind of tertiary side stuff. And yeah, that's all my things. I have a Facebook page, but I hate Facebook and
Oh
it's
yeah.
dead. It's a graveyard.
Oh
So
yeah. I made Facebook in middle school. I never used it again and finally deleted it in college. I was like, why is this still here? I don't like Facebook. So,
Facebook's horrible. It's
yeah.
horrible.
That's why I didn't include it in the links on stream.
Yeah,
That
I,
obviously that's the reason.
I hadn't even posted like any records on Facebook. That's how long. Like it's just dead.
Oh, posting records on Facebook is the worst. You've probably never seen it, but I remember very clearly it was like 2016, 2017. This video came out of a guy that was reading Facebook comments on one of Darbian's old Mario 1 records. And it's the worst garbage you'll ever read.
Yeah, why are they like that? I know exactly what you're talking about, but why are they like that?
I
It's just
don't
like,
know.
why do you take something that's cool for someone else and you're like, you have to internalize it as something bad for you,
Mm,
like, and like try and poke holes in it, or I don't know.
I
Like,
don't know.
you saw like a Carl Jobs video, and now you're like a speedrunner cheating sleuth or something. I hate that whole take is bad
Hmm.
on speedrunning. You don't have to enjoy it, but
Let other people enjoy it.
yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, the flip side is the inverse is also true. You can't have it both ways.
Hmm.
You don't have to. You can be like, I don't like this, but you can't tell people how to play a game.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, one of those comments I'll always remember because they called them goober troopers or something.
That's
So,
amazing. Goober troopers.
goober
That
troopers.
that's
That's
amazing.
yeah.
I'm using that.
I
That's
will
great.
never
Great.
forget it. I should like link you that video. You might find it funny. You can hear the goober troopers or whatever.
Yeah, yeah, I would love to check out that comment section. Is probably gold. Goob
The
Troop.
goober
Holy,
troopers.
holy moly!
Yeah.
What was the first speed run song that I came up with? Oh
Oh.
man, I don't remember.
You have a lot of them.
I don't remember. You just like do things over and over again so many times that like to save sanity, like you start saying same things over and over again. And sometimes the things that you say over and over again, I guess because I'm musical, like I turn it into a song. But I really don't remember what the first one was. There's the two in Ninja Gaiden that people always know during the bridge part, the 4-2 song. That's the one people usually like. And there's another one in Act 3 that I made one for Chip and Dale and Super Ghouls and Ghosts. If I'm just doing something repeatedly, then it's just gonna happen naturally. Like I don't like generally go off stream and like, all right, well, this song would be really cool on this stage if I write the lyrics down and don't forget them. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Um, but I'm glad people enjoy them. Like something that I found that's been beneficial to my stream and brand is like people tell me like they're doing the dishes and they're singing these stupid songs. And
Hmm.
like that's when I know I've got you. Yeah,
Yeah. I get them
I've
stuck in my
infected
head
your brain.
sometimes, so I understand. They're fun.
You got
Okay, my bad.
any other questions?
Uh, Upcoming live events or online events?
Live events or online events? No online events. There is um, Pittsburgh Retro Gaming Convention. I think that's the name of the con. I did it last year. I'll most likely be doing it again this year. I'm doing a panel, which I remember the idea being put forth. I'm like, man, like, no, who cares, man? No one's going to know or care about who I am or what it is that I'm doing. But it's fairly successful,
Hmm.
uh, and it was well received and stuff. So doing that again this year, and I forget when that is. I should probably actually organize that and book the flight and
Hmm.
do all of those things. Um, Online events, I got nothing yet, but The year's not even halfway done, so who
Yeah,
may see
and
some
there's
stuff.
many more years to come, so
Yeah.
it's got to be
I
something
am streaming
eventually.
today. I am streaming directly after this interview.
Yeah,
So
that's why I'm trying to wrap it up. The timing didn't quite work out exactly how we wanted, so I had to get this out before I left for GDQ though, so
yeah,
I have something
I
to upload.
sorry, I try to make it work, and
And
I love, like I said, like I love the podcast format,
mhm,
and I used to do it myself. So I was like, you want to hang on stream? Hell yeah,
yeah,
let's do it. Let's make it work.
yep. I mean, it was fun, so
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
glad we got
absolutely.
to get it out there, and I think we
Yeah,
mentioned
yeah, I
everything
had a
we
blast.
needed to, so it worked out.
Sure, sure. I had a lot of fun, and I appreciate you, inviting me on your stream and sharing me with your community and stuff like that. Really
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Well, I enjoyed having you on, so all right, I'll go ahead and do the ending spiel. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you're watching here on Twitch, this episode will be uploaded next Sunday. This was part of the uploading them while I'm at GDQ. So, but hey, if you're watching this on YouTube, this happened a while ago, but hey, new video next Friday, or sorry, Sunday. Today's Friday. That's why I'm confused. So, stay tuned for that. Let me get the shout out of the way. There we go. I think that's it. So I guess we can turn it off here. Thanks for watching again and have a good rest of your day, everyone. Take care.